A yarn is a story. A ball of yarn is called a clue. Various expressions, various kinds of expression can be useful. Useful. Radio, science, brain is different every time. It's about what is around. It's about what's possible. Our sentient minds, our scient minds, allow so much amazing potential. And yet, hokum can cloud our ability to see. It's not normally visible as represented here, but hocus pocus that creates actual or de facto constituted fibers of obscuring, occluding hokum, like bands of fabric that obscure and create shadows and distortions around reality. Hokum, being piloted by M, seems to be prevalent. In fact, Donald Trump, Roger Stone, Kevin Roberts, and Stephen Miller all currently remain at large. Stephen Miller, M, do currently remain at large. We're experiencing consistent use of Darvo and experiencing massive distortions in the field of reality. We're experiencing antagonism from the White House meant to destabilize and upset checks and balances that have sustained the United States, that are not metaphorical tentpoles. These are actual skeletal, foundational material. We need to consider ourselves being coerced because things that are happening now, the stopping of research, the halting of cancer research, stopping communication from the CDC, these are coordinated attacks. These are coordinated attacks that only happen when a nation is experiencing war. We've been experiencing denial and attack that reverses victim and offender for a long time with essentially agents of the Ku Klux Klan. Whether it's Bill Maher, or Alex Jones, we're dealing with a falsehood telling us we're trying to correct it when we want to actually have a level-to-level meeting about political conscience. But what in fact comes to pass is that a delay has allowed 50 years of Cold War, of Ku Klux Klan Confederate agents like Moms for Liberty and the Heritage Foundation, delaying until their attack was organized enough to work its fingers through government. This is a Handmaid's Tale, racist, bigoted, it's white supremacist male terrorism. It's crime. And it will devastate lives, and we don't need that to prove what it is. It has already unmasked. It's crime. They're trying to make talking about racism racist and therefore illegal somehow. Stephen Miller is a white supremacist bigot. He has been a provocateur of malice with cunning mousetraps against that built into his hocus. He is a hoax master. He is a devastating master of hoax building. We are in danger with Stephen Miller and Donald Trump having power. We're in danger. And to date, Donald Trump, Roger Stone, Kevin Roberts, and Stephen Miller, who is known as M, at Stephen M, I think these are probably the people most likely to know the identity of the falsehood. But we do know who M is. Stephen Miller and Donald Trump, along with Kevin Roberts, are sowing bloody revolution that is against the will of the people of the United States. They are dehumanizing people. Just wait until they start talking about 3/5. They are trying to enslave women, and they have already begun killing women through policy that is just as damning, in fact, more targeted and malicious and bigoted and dehumanizing than what we see from United Health. This is targeted malice. It's simply wrong. It's crime. It's poisoned wool blankets. And we supposedly are a nation that stops tyranny. We came here, my ancestors, and in treaties as well with people who are indigenous here, who need not be tortured by threats that they don't have citizenship, nor people whose ancestors were brought here as hostages against their will, told to forget how to say their family's name. Massive distortions in the field of reality promulgated by white terrorists like Stephen Miller are a problem and a menace to human safety and to our ability to steward our habitat. This is basic, widespread terrorism. It's state-controlled malice and terror, and it needs to stop. I imagine that this is the kind of free speech that people will probably be arrested for at some point. Essentially, standing in the way of ICE doing contemptible malice as a relatively new and deeply corrupt, as a rapist culture engine and a malicious and disfiguring, traumatizing entity. We're not seeing government, we're seeing torture, devastation, and there are different ways to express it and to process it. I think that naming it helps, and so I don't know of a better name for Stephen Miller than M. And as a composer and writer, and just as a human being, I need ways to play, but also to open up working with music. And so improvisation, even upon what may be an incredibly annoying and repetitive and to friends embarrassing and deal-breaking improvisational phenomenon. Oh, Tim, that song, Tim, again. We either develop new ways to play, or we have old ways to play, especially in the midst of continual upheaval and removal of social interaction that's playful, like social dance, or experiencing things in theaters together, things like that, where there's not a competition happening. We, after all, are human beings. Essentially, we are kind and resilient and certainly very badass things. And we can, each of us, be Iron Man if we want. But also, Iron Man inside is a human being. And part of being a human being is believing in oneself, believing that you deserve to exist. And being able to take hits or survive attack. There's a fantasy there. There's a fantasy that's not really fulfillable. It doesn't really make a world sustainable. Partially, you need to make that suit probably a lot bigger. It probably needs to look more like Hawaii or Texas. I think that we need to make a stand for human dignity and decency and agency and our place in the ecosystem of commerce that maintains us somehow as customers and owners within this system that we are of. We shouldn't be predatory to human need. We can capitalize upon want. We just shouldn't have dungeons where people get tortured. It's dumb. It's more expensive than proving ourselves wrong about this long addiction to punishment. And unfortunately, with the new administration, I get to bring back a version of Radio Science Brain that I didn't exactly utilize. But Radio Science Brain has repetition to it. And for a while there, it was Save the Presidency from the President plea that could be repeated over and over again, endlessly. Or be permuted, but come back to that again. And I wasn't incredibly excited about the last administration, but I don't believe in the conquest and racism and terrorism and bigotry and fraud of Donald Trump in any frame. And so, Save the Presidency from the President, please, is a thing that comes to lips easily, comes to mind quite easily. We should have different ways to access things like play and song and stuff. It should be easier. There should be space. Right now, we're reducing space. The brutally grooming, indoctrinating, so-called anti-indoctrination, anti-DEI maneuver that Stephen Miller is trying to pull with education is absolutely child abuse. It's really awful. And it's hard to see what's happening. And sometimes, for me, testing things out feeling the resonance of what it is and thinking out loud and finding what my brain sorts out. At least it calms me while I think about it. Because wanton, sown chaos why is it so difficult to just speak of political conscience? What are the reasons for your animosity? Can we stop? Can you please pause your insults about people's mascara or eyelashes for a moment? Can we do the work? Can you stop talking about bleach under the skin? Can we do the work of this moment that is so important at this moment? It's all about consent. It's all about consent. We deserve to be advised, so we deserve access to information. We deserve to have conversations where people level with one another rather than reserve the right to mean various things at once and dog whistle. If we cannot level with one another, we cannot speak about political conscience, and we sit outside of the conversation where people can be accountable, rather than hiding for decades corruption of people like Clarence Thomas or those sowing power. I mean, the three Trump appointees who have clearly been entered through lies, through lying about bedrock ideas of executive exceptional power and the bedrock precedent of Roe v. Wade. We're looking at people just rupturing agency. Consent matters. Consent matters. We're talking about human rights. And they're trying to take this back through assaulting birthright citizenship, and will do it again, even though they'll be batted down at this or that point. They'll do it again because they want to remove citizenship from people who aren't white and from people who aren't white men. It's the Confederacy. It's crime, and it has to be stopped. We have to recognize what it is. It hasn't declared otherwise. They sang the song of the nation they tacked without apologizing. They recorded it together. We're dealing with crime. We're dealing with seditious occupation. This isn't how peaceful transfers of power go. This is the, oh shucks, you say you're coming to run a, gosh, oh gosh, okay. What? They've signaled clearly crime. It's crime. It's enslavement of women. It's crime. They're trying to demonize people. They're screaming slurs of any and all kind with words like woke and DEI. They're screaming slurs meant to hurt people and to other people. It's white supremacist patriarchal terrorism, and it needs to be stopped. Stephen Miller is a dangerous, sadistic, malicious human being. It's not safe. It's not safe for him to be arbiter of policy for the White House. We are dealing with bad faith actors. While it is possible there are peaceful ways for us to assail M in the way that he has assailed everything, it's just that we have the truth. We don't need a single hoax. We don't need a single lie. Stephen M. is a menace to humanity, and it's easy to clock it. We need to make clear that M is the problem. He's not the only problem. But Donald Trump, for all we know, Donald Trump is the falsehood, but he doesn't know. That could be it, after all. That could be it, Scoop Troop. Imagine that, after all. What if the mysterious and wondrous but pernicious falsehood who fascinates and can shape fabric of hokum such that they cannot be seen? What if the mysterious falsehood was actually a puppet after all? They would maybe like to be, but don't know that they are. What if they're a puppet, actually? Gosh. I don't know if it matters. Maybe they're intertwined. Maybe they just like and are aligned. But Stephen Miller and Donald Trump and this coterie of fascists are a danger to all of humankind. And that makes me think things. Imagination sees obstruction, conduct without compunction. Imagination save the presidency from manifest destiny. Save the presidency from manifest destiny. Imagination remain change agency. Remain imagination creativity. Imagination may game to play. You are a game. Imagination contains your agency, intuition remain always the same. Imagination ache, imagine human stain across radio science break. Imagination relay this contagious ache in a voice that is saying, proclaim. Save the presidency from the president, please. Save the presidency from the president, please. For our democracy, whose job is it to vet this? Does consent go away easily? Save the presidency from the president, please. His coterie of Nazis and greed will leave us from tyranny. ideas the invitation. You can't silence, it's always thus. Save the presidency from the president, please. From Stephen Miller's Nazi patriarchy. Save the presidency from this Nazi patriarchy. Save the presidency. Save our democracy. Save the presidency from the president, please. Save the presidency from this obvious Nazi collaborator, golden infamous escalator. We know how hand signals work. High fives and live long and prosper don't sound like anti-life visual words. You are what you proclaim. Make it plain. Radio science brain. Save the presidency from manifest destiny. This lie that Stephen Miller has across minds is greed. It's white supremacist, patriarchal terror. We don't need to be enslaved. Need in nature, your creature would ape. You're an imagination shaper. You're an ape. We need not be great as Americans. Let's be good, let's be neighborhood. But each of us is great. We're great apes. Imagine what your ape will shape. Imagine it without training wheels for white males, without training wheels for white people. No one fails, no punishing jails, freedom sails. What if we don't profit from people we choose? Who impales? Who gets impaled? Who gets railed? Who goes to jail? Who's punished? Who's admonished? And who chooses? Who gets to say what is wrong and what's human? What's sung and what's new? And what's not one? Save the presidency for our humanity. Radio science brain is different every time. I guess it's probably incumbent upon me now to prove it. So I now present proof. You know, Donald Trump promised that he would give us proof. In fact, he and Rudy Giuliani promised that they had proof. Incontrovertible, election-changing fraud proof, they said, of the 2020 election. They said that they had it. If they would have had it for the last 4 years and not revealed it, that would be a crime. If they have it now and were to reveal it, that would be, I don't see how that wouldn't be criminal. But also to have it now would be certainly criminal. But also to not answer for this is quite insane. It seems nefarious or criminal as well. You said you had proof. Was that not the lure that drew people to do violence, people who were tricked? At least some of those people who he's now pardoned, some of those people absolutely believed him about fraud, in part because he and Rudy Giuliani said they had proof. That's a fact word. Was that an alternative fact word? That's a huge, huge, huge distortion, I think, where they expect us to do the emotional labor, the intellectual labor. Like, if we believe him, or just don't want to believe the nefarious things that kind of like failure to ever really say anything about that, except when it's useful for him to say that he still has proof at some points, which he never shows. Was that not the entire core of, like, was it, he didn't just make it about he knows, except by that lily pad. He maybe wouldn't have had to say that they found proof, but they did say that there was something that they hung their press conference upon. Yes, we won the election, just like we said a couple weeks ago. They said in November of 2020. They said, we have proof. And it's like, well, do you know how to send an email? Do you know how to, do you know any of these, people that you keep saying are fake? Can you get their fake number? Can you, how you jump in front of the cameras? Can you do that with this proof over 2 months? Nope. Can't be done. In fact, it's still never been done. That's some serious hocus pocus. And that we don't have that conversation. He hasn't spoken about that. He won't be asked to. So it needs to be, they either have to be relieved and brought to therapy, or there have to be people who actually can say no. We need people who can say no to him. Because clearly he terrifies people, and he's been given corrupt power. But I don't think it's a case of absolute power corrupting. It's a case of Donald Trump being a conquest mind. And so whatever frame he's given, he wants eventually to conquer it, to break it open and be exceptional to it. He wants to come in and eat a ham sandwich during the ceremony and have nobody worry about it and wipe his hands on the fabric of everything. He wants to come in and poop in the middle of the ceremony and have people glad to have him here and like kind of celebrate him for defiling. He gets to defile people and institutions and everything and benefit from how, wow, there's just a whole lot of shit around that eventually kind of came from a breach that he made. And shutting down communications. It's insane. Shutting down communications between organizations, shutting down basic function of previously allotted budget. These are illegal. Many of these patently illegal, and many of them similar to how Donald Trump gains popularity or has leveraged the internet. It's not that someone couldn't do it, it's that no one decided to. It's the same kind of mind that sees a jet and thinks, well, it will be great to have my name on the side of it, but also, how fast does that go? Well, what if it were a missile, but we used the fact that there were people on it? It's not unlikely. It's not outside of the realm of possibility that Donald Trump passed the idea of passenger missiles off. He is about shocking boundary violations, about taking advantage of deference and defiling and degrading people, and maintaining a sense of authority in the situation, or taking advantage of people's being personally or as a group destabilized. Oh, there's been a crash? He's going to come in and tell everybody about it because he has absolute authority. Clearly, all of the anti-DEI stuff is racist and anti-trans and anti-queer. I would say anti-LGBTQ. Clearly, they're working to violently pit people against each other to other people. It's terrorism on the part of the current White House administration. It's hokum. You've probably seen it along with those Saturday morning cartoons just to the either side of Schoolhouse Rock. But here's one of the fragments, once again. You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger looking into your eyes saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood?
Sets the fear of separation. 6, the fear of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic.
here we are in the imagination of democracy at the Mystery Font. This resonance of this figure that's still cloaking here is difficult. These mid-transference kind of proto-images of, some people think it's the falsehood, some people think it's just, kind of some quick, weird striated light capture that's really more so whoever he's trying to disguise himself as. Some people don't believe that any of these are, really showing us anything, but I've heard tell of people seeing, not for only a snapshot, but people seeing granted, some of these are just visions, but I've heard tell of people seeing just floating eyes and floating hands and like a hood of some kind. It kind of looks like this. And that could be, is that the falsehood? I think across, people are saying, I know Stephen Miller is working to keep this under wraps, but people are saying that to some degree responsible for the hokum that's everywhere and these resulting massive distortions in the field of reality, that someone has done the falsehood. And they may, in fact, be weaving material influence somehow through Donald Trump. But I think there's reason to believe there's cognizance. I think M is getting more and more aggressive at conducting hokum. I think we need to be vigilant, aware that he's going to escalate. Donald Trump is not the only infamous escalator. He's not the only one who can play that. He's not the only one who will. For sure, he's not the only one who will. I think it's probably wise for us to be aware that we're dealing with an occupation. We're dealing with bad faith actors. Emptying billions of gallons, certainly millions of gallons of reservoir water into flood areas that don't, where it's not needed, expected, where it's doing damage, where people have to scramble to be ready for resulting issues, as a way to create a photo opportunity and flex that he can do whatever he wants. This is absurd. We're being abused. and the continued use of DEI as a bigoted and racist slur, essentially, is equally a thing of Donald Trump and of Stephen Miller, without question. But it's also Kevin Roberts weighing in with influence. Kevin Roberts and Stephen Miller and Donald Trump have always been together in this. There was never any separation whatsoever. It's really easy. It's pretty easy to look. It wasn't until the last couple of months. I mean, I can't remember the last time that I looked and saw it for sure, but a year ago, I remember going to look at like the Project 2025 site, and they listed the organizations involved. And Stephen Miller was, his America First legal entity was listed there. And that changed. But, you know, it's really odd how little push or immediate fact check was not ready. In fact, you know, like pre-check, like we're ready for you saying you're not involved. You are the president's, you know, previous advisor in the White House. So clearly you're associated to him, and you're in fact looking like you would do that again, but also you are on the website as one of their main organizations. Like it's clear you're associated. Just to shut it down. Like, don't try to let him pretend he doesn't work with you. This is written for him. Just shut it down. There's so much clear negligence there. Giving cover for massive lies. And right now, the terrorism, the horrific crime and separations, and likely enslavement of people being performed by Stephen Miller we should stop it. Any of the impact, like having schools across America have teachers instituting fascism and claiming that racism doesn't exist or it's not important to talk about, and this is national indoctrination into the Ku Klux Klan's dominion, into patriarchal terrorist dominion. It is itself absolutely child abuse. It's absolutely grooming, and it has, you know, Ryan Walters, Jeffrey Epstein, sex trafficking fingers all over it. This is a pipeline for kids into being enslaved just as they wish to do for women. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's abominable. It's totally abominable. And I think it's illegal. But it's torturing children. It's torturing children who are expected to adhere to this idea of accepting a world that is clearly white supremacist, white male supremacist, to the point of illegalizing calling it racist. Like, your protest that it is not institutionally designated, that it's not systematized, systemic. Like, you just have been holding off and calling it you're trying to be politically correct. You're trying to correct. No, we're just trying to snap. Oh, actually, yes, we do have a problem with these DEI hires, but clearly now that means they're actually going for the removal of citizenship and agency of the global majority. It's crime. It's terrorism. It has to be stopped. Because this removal of citizenship, removal of agency, enslaving of people, taking away people's agency who would stand in the way of making essentially oligarchy and corporate hegemony, ending any sense of people being customer or like essentially the society. It's abominable. But it's not just to be called out. We do need to identify this as occupation, I think, or as betrayal. We need to stop being pummeled by it and stop it. We need to apprehend this crime. We can't deal with 4 years of being looted, because that is what the ridiculously vile Russ vote and Elon Musk are trying to do. They're trying to just suck us dry of resources and steal essentially from those of us who are building substrate to be able to be sustainable at the very, very edges, and people without anything at all. It is coordinated attack. After what's happened with COVID in recent years and massive gains for billionaires and near trillionaires, the insanity of what he's done with taxes alone shows malice. It shows truly conspiratorial, anti-American malice. It's not legitimate to claim you are for everyone and that you are not in fact an attack when this is what you do. All of this is how an attack acts. All of it. All of it. We're dealing with tyranny. It's tyrannical. It has to be apprehended. I think we can do that at this point. But can we handle the truth? And are we willing to? Is someone willing to say no? Or to allow someone in the room who is intellectually cogent enough and can be informed or is informed, has intersectional knowledge, to apply the word no legibly with the correct tenacity to this ridiculous mother falcon, if only to coax him into the space behind the wall that is being constructed. Of, we can let him know, this is your wall, we're just finishing it, and here we're going to close the door. Okay, there you go, that's your room. That's your room. What's the trapdoor for billionaires or for people seeking office? Or, pushy dates, pushy male dates at a Baskin Robbins, making jokes about putting stuff in somebody's ice cream. Like, what's the, beyond angel shots, what's the, nope, shut it down. We're there. We're dealing with all kinds of emergency red flags. And the idea of essentially, at a glance, deciding that someone for what they're wearing or the language they're speaking or for their opinions, for their political stance, for associating with people and assembling, for protesting. Tyranny can't be acceptable. It can't be accepted. That takes people deciding to not be submissive to it, though. If you're thinking that you would like some of the things that will happen because they're happening to another group and not to you, that's both abominable but also short-sighted. It's embarrassingly short-sighted. It's embarrassing that you don't see that the blade is a lot longer than that, or that it makes another pass. And now it knows your ass. Humanity deserves to be treated humanely. And DEI is humanity. I think we know that. I don't think that people have lost track of that. So what is it about going after empathy? And this kind of, you know what we mean. Why the obsession with making scapegoats of things that are materially good, like wokeness to be aware of how to treat one another well, to be just to one another. Because we are diverse, even if just within a family there is diversity, and no one deserves to be treated like garbage or like God based on different qualities. No one deserves to be punished or put into a dungeon or differently protected or abandoned. I don't think that people who have need for some reason should be demonized. Not being able to chart something as near what seems hegemonic, it's immaterial. There's all kinds of what is valuable and what's us. What matters about what's us. That we shouldn't have to prove matters or deserves to be in our difference and divergence. We are diversity. We are diversity. And it's truly abominable. It's truly abominable. And why does Stephen Miller go after DEI? Why does he assail DEI? I think it is because white supremacy, actually, truth be told, didn't earn it. Like, that bigots like to say DEI means didn't earn it, and I guess I would turn that right back around. Because white supremacy didn't earn it. White supremacy definitely didn't earn it. Poison wool blankets is all that's trying to come back. It's the Confederacy. And it didn't earn it in the first place. And it hasn't earned it. For me, truly, it just feels like it's so clear that the only group on earth behaving as if inferior is people pushing white supremacy. Like pushing racism and bigotry. That's definitely inferior. Trying to create, like, trying to leverage falsehood to harm people so clearly, like, betrays that you think you need to cheat to be able to, like, exist. It says that you think that that's okay. There's so much muck. It's so disgusting. And it's built on propriety and supposed honor, I think. And it's just free of any kindness or a real honor whatsoever. It's just nonsense. Because white supremacy never earned shit. It's just crime. And trying to remove our ability to have reproach and civil dialogue that disagrees is built around shame of things like this and the same sexual frustration and incel insecurity, the same, like, tortured punishment and punishment indoctrinated addiction to punishment. It's insane. And it's dangerous. It doesn't get better by being enabled. We should take Kevin Roberts' language and Stephen Miller's language as, like, cry for help, dispatch EMS, dispatch, maybe a peace officer and, someone who is maybe a counselor. Is there some, nonviolent, but just like, is there somebody who can talk to them? Hey, Stephen. Hey, Kevin Roberts, I hear you're talking about revolution that doesn't have to be bloody if people just get out of the way. That sounds scary. That's wow. What's going on, Kevin? What's going on, Mr. Miller? Why don't we have you come down to the station and talk to us about this? Why don't we make sure that we've got some care for you? Like, much like, someone choosing a political apex moment, like being clearly nefarious or not, like a player in the election of the leader of the free world and being on that stage behind the presidential seal and talking about, we did it, we won, thanks everybody, we're solidifying the future of civilization. And he clearly does Nazi salutes. That's what we've opened up. It's truly abominable. And again, didn't earn it. Elon Musk's Nazi parents who moved to South Africa, his grandparents who moved to South Africa because they liked the racist bureaucracy there and ability to sow power. Of course, he sees plunder opportunity here. And isn't that what's happening? Isn't it just plunder? He's peeking into our Social Security records. He's going to just fondle with the Treasury. Like, this is corruption that has the same impact as war or war. It's a coup. Or materially, that impact. It should be the top of our, it should be the top of mind. It should be what we're talking about. That we actually stop it. Because it's enslavement and terrorism. And they make themselves difficult to approach and talk to, but we can apprehend them. Donald Trump, Roger Stone, Kevin Roberts, and Stephen Miller remain at large. So too Elon Musk, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Carrie Lake, J.D. Vance. Why would we accept election denial from anyone seeking office? Why would we accept basic bedrock questions that we deserve answers to being flouted? It really seems that those were only ways for them to initiate into this death cult, into this death squad. Calling agencies and maybe hands-on hurting people, who knows? Is there a difference? But again and again, these appointees, when interviewed, it seemed pretty clear it was really important for them to do things, to say things that showed malice, that showed willingness to obscure the truth, vital, important truth, and to hold the ability to level people rather than level with people. Like, you will be hurt. Maybe very, well, I mean, we're in the world of publishing Project 2025 and then gaslighting about, well, no, it's not. Well, no, it's not. Oh, well, actually, no, it's not him. But, well, no, it's, well, maybe, no, it's, well, maybe, well, what? There's so many different ways in which clear malice to truth and fact was sown by Donald Trump and Vance, obviously by Stephen Miller, obviously by everyone associated with the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, but also across media. There's been, regardless of how horrific an act or statement or threat by Donald Trump is, instead of tracing it down and saying, okay, what is this shape actually? Is this really the iceberg it seems like? What's happening? And why would someone do this? Is there actually really any good reason? He says he has the right to, and is that why is this happening? But instead, again and again, the question that they were groomed, it seemed like, told to ask would be, is this good for Donald Trump? Is this good for Donald Trump? What? How when we hear that he's threatened a judge or posted their address, how when we hear that, in fact, oh, he had another cubbyhole and bedroom safe full of documents that he clearly must have or maybe are in the wind. He is a bad faith actor. He's a bad faith actor. How do we apprehend the falsehood? And what if Donald Trump is seldom really overtaken by the true villainy that really is what's at hand? Maybe he is just Archie Bunker who doesn't think himself evil, but sometimes is turned on by... Is he maybe being controlled by M? There are so many theories about the falsehood. People are saying there are so many thousands of theories all over the internet and the net, the normal net, you know, the fibrous net that surrounds the whole planet, where people are like the bridge with all the lockets, leaving all kinds of messages that they handwrite and tie with string that they weave themselves out of fibers of their lives. You know, the net. But both the net and this internet are strewn with all kinds of people giving their own account, their own connection. I could shoot someone in the street, he says, and not lose anybody. It feels like part of what's being said there is that people that don't matter to him never existed to begin with. It's kind of like saying, if we stop testing, we'll have very few cases, if any. If he doesn't care about you, then nobody's dying. if he doesn't care enough about you to take his knee off of your neck to make sure that he can't even hear you say, "Yes, I can breathe," then what are we doing here? We're dealing with malice. You don't shut down agencies and hold people in fear with any just reason. We're dealing with serious abuse of power. But it's only the beginning. It's only going to continue to escalate. None of it should be a surprise. If only because some of us can remember last time, and that this was the fear that where we're at now was what we were fearing, and gaslight was not always exactly where they were going. Exactly where they're going. It's good to remember that with the idea of the lure of proof, that Giuliani and Trump claimed proof that they never showed. But what that proof meant from November, when they claimed they had it, all the way to January 6th, and that all the way up to that moment, for sure the day before, people were waiting and doing the emotional and psychological labor of like, oh, I'm sure they're going to show us, or oh, darn everybody who's obviously not, there's some reason they're not, just trusting. Like, you're promised something, someone accidentally takes your phone as theirs and you call and you're like, oh, hey, can I get my phone? Did you maybe take my, oh yeah, I thought that was yours. Oh, great, can I get it back? Oh, sure, I'll be back sometime. I'm like, oh, cool, actually, can I get it now? I was thinking I'd just be going out to the movies tonight, and whoa, can I get my phone back? Well, I don't know, like, what's happening here? Why is there a hiccup with basic, like, we're not being leveled with? We're being talked to about common sense by someone who is antagonizing their own country, who is literally attacking us, terrorizing people, talking about cutting lifelines, like attributed, funding allotted and budgeted. It's not the job of the Treasury to stop payments. It's the job of the Treasury to manage the payments being made. And they're just Kremlins. We have Kremlins trying to take apart any shred of democracy. And we're supposed to be able to deal with tyranny. I think we are supposed to be able to do that. I think we are supposed to be able to do that. I think it's our duty, in fact. We're passing something forward. We're passing on a torch of illumination. It's not just for some, it's for everyone. It's a massive lie that it threatens white people to take white supremacy apart. It's a massive lie. Taking white supremacy apart helps everybody, including the people formerly known as white, or, through taking apart that harm, we heal human family. What part of heal human family doesn't work for people? I don't get it. I don't get what part of honesty and honor and justice and playing fair and owning our wrongs is difficult for people. But what Stephen Miller is trying to do is just literally sew up a different reality and legislate teachers follow it and illustrate that falsehood into kids' lives. And that it's sewn up with this projection, this reverse, a reversal of really of the definition of indoctrination. It certainly is meant to mess with people who understands what's being done there, to claim that it's against indoctrination. Given how indoctrination is about limiting, not to mention demonizing other views. But projection is, that's Stephen Miller's way. That's Donald Trump's way. I don't think there's really there's not a limit to how far they will take all of this. We are the limit. We have to stop this. We have to register the projections, the things that they're saying about others are typically the claims that they're making about others. We should look at what else is rumbling around us, because those attacks may be underway by them against others. Because, attacking substrate and looting neighborhoods, looting whole communities of resources, that's what the shutdown and Roosevelt's gutting, or Elon Musk's gutting of agencies looks like. That's looting. Looting SNAP funds, looting aid, looting grants, looting, I suppose even sanctioned access for weather operations, or just the sanction to communicate. All of this withholding, these are acts of war. These are acts of obstruction of, life going on. This is attacking the pursuit of happiness and threatening life and liberty. It's not liberty. It certainly threatens life. We've got to recognize the projection that keeps happening. and take time, be safe, be careful, be kind to self. Remember, DEI is humanity. DEI is all of us. Yes, they're using it to single out people who are not white and people who are not white men. But even if it didn't include an overlap with white men, even if it didn't, the whole point, I mean, what Stephen Miller is working to do is to create tolerance for intolerance. And finding ways to say, oh, well, what's a sport that, only our groups of people seem to, okay, great. We're going to outlaw, like, working to organize to find shapes and ways that exclude, that aren't noticed, that aren't taken seriously until you're suddenly making laws around them. Obviously, the fact of casting uneducated blame in the midst of tragedy and potential human error and all of that, it's just asinine. It's not leadership. It's stupid. It's reckless. But worse than that, like, they're really just finding ways to yell slurs that signal people are women or are gay or trans or are effeminate or are people of color. It's just ways to scream the N-word or to scream slurs that essentially are, you're not Tom Cruise or his date, but met with societal and lifetime access kind of weight. They're trying to legitimize just a return of the Confederacy. It has to be stopped. I don't think we do tyranny. I think we need to halt it. We're dealing with saboteurs. Like M. We're dealing with saboteurs. If this is rather a lackadaisical broadcast, if you want to support my work, feel free to go to publicdisplaysofAffection.art or music is available on iTunes.
the feet of separation. 6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. 6 the feet of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. You didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. You didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. He didn't mean to cause a panic, yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. The Nazis lost in World War II. As Allied radar read their crew, and what we knew was probably due. The great American wall builder said, I know what to do. I can use you. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. That's not what I call guardian. You embody actual Trump. what your heart was. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's how your word becomes action. It's that your words and honest one. How long must you menace us? You do doubt the new Colossus. You're a real card. You're a real card. You're a real card. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. 6 feet of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. You didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. You didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. He didn't mean cause a panic, yet seeks the feet of separation. Seeks the feet of separation. Seeks the feet of separation. The Nazis lost in World War II. As Ally radar read their crew, and what we knew was probably due. The great American wall builder said, I know what to do. I can use you. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Yet seeks the feet of separation. Seeks the feet of separation. Seeks the feet of separation. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. That's not what I call guardian. You embody a jewel trump. You're a real card, your father's son. You're a real card, your father's suit. You're a real card, your father's suit. It's not the thing you swear upon. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's how your word becomes It's that your words and honest one. How long must you menace us? You do doubt the new Colossus. You're a real card. You're a real card. You're a real card. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. 6 feet of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. You didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. You didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. He didn't mean to cause a panic, yet 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. The Nazis lost in World War II. as ally radar read their crew, and what we knew was probably due. The great American wall builder said, I know what to do. I can use you. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Yet 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. That's not what I call guardian. You embody a jewel trump. You're a real card, your father's son. You're a real card, your father's suit. You're a real card, your father's suit. It's not the thing you swear upon. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's how your word becomes action. It's that your words an honest one. How long must you menace us? You do doubt the new Colossus. You're a real 6, the feet of Saturn.